My name is Margaret Turner. I am 78 years old, and for most of my life, I believed Christmas was the one day love could heal even the deepest cracks in a family. That belief shattered this morning. It was Christmas morning, the house smelled of cinnamon and pine, and I had wrapped my arms around a small gift I'd bought for my granddaughter, Lily. She's 6, with big, curious eyes, and I've spent countless nights sewing little dresses for her, sending letters, and saving money to make her Christmas special. I approached her, smiling, and said, "Merry Christmas, sweetheart." She tilted her head, frowned, and asked loudly, "Who are you again?" The room fell silent. My heart cracked. Her father, my own son Thomas, leaned back on the couch and laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not the kind to ease tension, but a cruel, mocking laugh that echoed through the room. He said, "She doesn't even know who you are, Mom." Guess that says a lot, doesn't it? His wife smirked, sipping her coffee, as if my pain was the morning's entertainment. I stood frozen, clutching the small gift in my hands. I tried to explain to Lily, "I'm your grandma, darling. I've always been here." But her father interrupted, "Don't confuse her. You're barely here." His words burned deeper than any winter cold. No one came to my defense. They turned back to their presents and laughter while I stood there invisible, humiliated in my own son's house. The gift slipped from my trembling hands and hit the floor. Nobody even noticed. At that moment, I realized something. They didn't see me as family anymore. I was just an old woman in the corner, a shadow from the past. I walked out into the freezing morning air, tears stinging my cheeks. They didn't follow me. They didn't care. I sat in my car for hours, replaying every sacrifice I made for my son, how I worked double shifts to send him to college, how I sold my jewelry to help him buy his first house, how I raised him alone after his father died. And now, he mocked me in front of his child. By the time the sky turned dark, I wasn't crying anymore. I was thinking deeply. I thought about the house they lived in, the house Thomas claimed as his. The truth? That house was mine. I had never signed it over. I had only let them live there because they said they needed time to get on their feet. I also thought about the bank account he didn't know existed and the lawyer who still handled my affairs. That night, while they were probably still laughing and drinking wine, I drove back. I parked quietly, stepped inside with my spare keys, and stood in the hallway watching them sleep. My heart pounded, but not with fear, with resolve. I went straight to my room, packed my belongings, and took the deed from the safe they never bothered to check. When I closed the front door behind me, I looked back one last time. The home was silent, but I whispered to myself, "This is the last Christmas they'll ever laugh at me." What I did next would turn their world upside down. But they had no idea what was coming. The night air felt colder as I drove away, but inside me, something fierce had ignited. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as I headed toward the small cabin I had kept hidden for years. Nobody knew about it, not Thomas, not his wife. It was my secret, my sanctuary. When I reached the cabin, I parked and sat there for a while. The only sound was the wind howling through the trees. I unlocked the door, stepped inside, and inhaled the familiar smell of cedar and old memories. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Every corner told a story of my independence. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed up thinking about every moment I had been disrespected by the very people I loved most. I remembered when Thomas was 8, and I worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table. I remembered patching up his knees after he fell off his bike, staying up with him through fevers, and cheering the loudest at his school plays. I gave everything I had, and in return, he gave me mockery and coldness. My heart ached, but anger kept me warm. The next morning, I called my lawyer, Mr. Harris. His voice was warm and firm when I told him what happened. "Margaret," he said, "you still have full ownership of that house. If you want to take action, you absolutely can." Hearing that lit a spark inside me. I asked him to prepare the necessary papers. He didn't ask many questions, just said, "You've been too generous, Margaret. Maybe it's time they learn the truth." Over the next few days, I stayed quiet. Thomas didn't call. No one checked if I was okay. They probably thought I was sulking somewhere, too weak to do anything. That was their mistake. While they enjoyed their cozy life under my roof, I was setting up the biggest shock of their lives. On the third day, I drove by the house. I didn't go in, but I watched from the street as they laughed in the yard, as if Christmas morning hadn't happened, as if my feelings meant nothing. My granddaughter was playing, and Thomas stood with his arm around his wife. The sight hurt, but it also fueled my determination. That night, I signed the papers Mr. Harris had sent over. The house was officially taken back under my control. They had no idea what storm was brewing. The next morning, I put on my best coat, pinned up my white hair, and walked into the bank to freeze their access to the utilities linked to my name. One by one, I took back control. 2 days later, a notice arrived at their door. I wasn't there to see their faces, but I could imagine Thomas's jaw tightening as he read the eviction letter. It stated they had 30 days to vacate the property. 30 days to figure out what life looked like without my generosity. That evening, my phone rang. It was Thomas. His voice was sharp, dripping with anger. "Mom, what the hell is this?" he barked. I calmly replied, "It's what you earned, Thomas." "You can't do this to us," he shouted. "Oh, I can," I said softly. "And I am." Then I hung up. That night, I sat by the fireplace in my cabin, sipping tea, feeling stronger than I had in years. But I knew Thomas wouldn't take this quietly. His pride was too big. Something told me this was only the beginning of the battle, and I was ready for whatever came next, because they still didn't know what else I had planned. Backhand index pointing right if you believe every grandma has her breaking point, and her power. Stay tuned. Like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to hear what happens. The next morning, I woke to a pounding on the cabin door. Through the small window, I saw Thomas's car parked in the driveway, dust kicking up from his rushed arrival. My son stood there, fists clenched, eyes wild with rage. I opened the door slowly, not because I feared him, but because I wanted him to see the calm in my face. "What is this game, Mom?" he barked, stepping inside without being invited. His voice cracked, part anger, part desperation. "You think you can just take the house from us? That's my home." I raised an eyebrow and said softly, "Your home? Or the home I let you stay in out of kindness?" "Read the deed again, Thomas. It has my name on it." He glared at me, breathing hard. "You're being cruel. What about Lily? You want her granddaughter homeless?" I looked straight into his eyes and said, "You made her a stranger to me. You laughed when she didn't know who I was. If you can teach her to forget her grandmother, you can also teach her to live without my house." My voice trembled, but not from weakness, from years of swallowed pain finally spilling out. His jaw clenched. He turned to leave, but stopped at the door, muttering, "You'll regret this." Then he slammed it shut, so hard the cabin walls shook. For a moment, I sat back in my chair, heart pounding, but a small smile crept across my lips. That was the first time in years I'd seen Thomas scared. Not of me, but of losing the life he thought was guaranteed. Over the next week, the tension grew. His wife, Monica, began sending me bitter texts. "You're tearing this family apart. You'll die alone if you keep this up. We'll fight you for this house." I didn't respond. I kept every message. Meanwhile, Lily's small voice echoed in my heart. "Who are you again?" The words were like a knife. But I knew this wasn't her fault. She was only 6, shaped by what her parents told her, or didn't tell her about me. I missed her more than anything, but I couldn't let that ache weaken me. I met with Mr. Harris again. He assured me my position was solid. "They have no claim, Margaret," he said, handing me the final documents. "Legally, the property is yours. If they try to challenge this, they'll lose." His words gave me the confidence I needed to stand firm. By the second week, things took a darker turn. I noticed a black car parked near the cabin at odd hours. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but it kept showing up early mornings, late nights. Whoever, it was never approached. They just watched. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, I heard footsteps outside. When I looked through the window, no one was there. My heart raced. Was Thomas trying to intimidate me? Or was Monica behind this, trying to scare me into submission? I locked every door and window, double-checked the deed hidden under my mattress, and kept my phone close. Days later, I received an envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a single sheet of paper with bold letters. "Drop this or else." No signature. I sat there, staring at the paper, my hands trembling. But instead of fear, a fire burned inside me. They wanted a war? They had no idea what kind of war they were starting. That night, I made a phone call to someone Thomas didn't know existed, a man who owed me a favor, someone who could dig into secrets better than any lawyer. If my son wanted to play dirty, I would play smarter. What I discovered about Monica would change everything. And when the truth came out, they would wish they had never underestimated me. Do you think Monica is hiding something? Or is it Thomas who's about to fall first? Comment your thoughts, like this story, and subscribe, because what happened next will reveal a secret that will shock you. Ask ChatGPT. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the cabin made me think of that black car, of the envelope with its ugly threat. But instead of letting fear control me, I made a list. Names, numbers, memories. Every person who had ever crossed paths with my son and his wife. Sometimes the smallest memory can lead to the biggest discovery. The man I called Richard was an old friend of my late husband. He had once worked as a private investigator before retiring, and he owed me a debt for helping his family years ago. When I explained the situation, he didn't hesitate. "Send me her full name, Margaret," he said. "I'll see what crawls out of the shadows." 3 days later, Richard called back, his voice low and serious. "You were right to ask. Monica isn't who she pretends to be. There's a paper trail, Margaret loans in her name, gambling debts, and something else. She's been siphoning money out of accounts linked to your property taxes. Quietly. For months." I froze. "She's stealing from me?" "Not just you. She's been using Thomas's name too. He may not even know the full extent." Richard's tone hardened. "I'll send everything I found. Use it wisely." When I hung up, I felt my chest tighten. Anger and betrayal twisted together like a knot. So that's why they wanted me gone so badly, because they knew if I looked too closely, I'd see what Monica had been hiding. That evening, I printed every document Richard sent. Bank statements, credit transfers, copies of debts under false names. The evidence was undeniable. Monica was not only bleeding them dry, but also leaving me with financial liabilities she hoped I'd never notice. I drove into town the next day, head held high, and met with Mr. Harris. When I handed him the folder, his eyebrows rose. "This changes everything," he said, flipping through the pages. "Margaret, we can take legal action against her. She's committed fraud." I nodded. "Do it. And make it loud enough that they can't hide from it." Meanwhile, at the house, tensions were boiling. Thomas called again, his voice shaking. "Mom, why are you dragging Monica through the mud? This isn't you. You're tearing us apart." "Thomas," I said calmly, "open your eyes. She's using you. She's using your daughter. And she's using me. I won't stand by and let her destroy what I built." He hung up without another word. Later that night, as I sat by the fire in my cabin, headlights swept across my windows. My heart skipped a beat. I grabbed the old iron poker by the fireplace and waited. But instead of the door being kicked in, there was just a loud bang, something thrown against the cabin wall. When I stepped outside after the car sped away, I found a rock wrapped with a note. "Stop or you'll regret it." They were escalating, but so was I. I installed new locks, security cameras, and kept my phone close to my bed. Fear crept into my dreams, but I refused to let it own me. Every threat only made me more determined to bring the truth to light. A week later, the sheriff knocked on Thomas's door with a warrant regarding Monica's financial crimes. The neighborhood watched as Monica screamed, clutching Lily, while Thomas stood stunned, unable to defend her. I wasn't there, but Richard sent me a picture from a distance, the beginning of their unraveling. That night, I sat in my cabin and thought, this is only the first crack. The rest will come tumbling down soon. But I didn't know then that Monica had one last card to play, one that could destroy not just my plan, but everything I held dear. Because the next call I got wasn't from my lawyer or Richard. It was from Lily. When I saw Lily's name on my phone screen, my hands trembled. She had never called me before, not once. I answered quickly, my voice gentle. "Lily? Sweetheart, are you okay?" There was a long pause, followed by a whisper, so soft I had to press the phone tighter to my ear. "Grandma? Mommy said not to call you, but I'm scared." My heart dropped. "Scared? Why, baby?" Her voice cracked. "Mommy says bad people are coming for you. She said you're going to get hurt if you don't stop." Then I heard a muffled shout in the background, and the line went dead. I sat frozen, clutching the phone. That little girl's fear wasn't fake. She was terrified. And now I knew Monica wasn't just desperate. She was dangerous. Immediately, I called Richard. "They've involved Lily now," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "She's using that child to scare me." Richard's tone sharpened. "Margaret, this isn't just a family dispute anymore. I'll keep an eye on the house, and you don't go anywhere alone." But I refused to hide. The next morning, I went straight to Mr. Harris's office. "File everything. I want Monica exposed, every account, every fraud. I also want to protect Lily. She's caught in the middle of this mess." He nodded and promised to fast-track the legal proceedings. Later that day, I drove past the house. Police cars were parked outside, and neighbors stood whispering in small groups. Monica was on the porch, yelling at an officer, while Thomas stood by, pale and defeated. When Monica spotted my car, her face twisted with pure hatred. She pointed at me and screamed something I couldn't hear, but her eyes said it all. She wanted me gone. That night, I stayed awake, waiting for another threat. Hours passed in silence, but around 2 a.m., the sound of tires screeching jolted me up. I looked out and saw a car speeding away from the cabin. When I stepped outside, my stomach churned. Someone had set fire to my trash bins. The flames were small, but enough to send smoke into the cold night air. I grabbed the hose and put it out, my hands shaking with adrenaline. Whoever did this wasn't just trying to scare me anymore. They wanted to send a warning. The next day, I went to the sheriff. I showed him the threats, the burnt bins, everything Richard had uncovered. His face grew grim. "Mrs. Turner, this has gone far beyond a family matter. We'll keep an eye on your property. And if Monica or anyone else tries something, they'll face serious charges." But Monica wasn't done. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. "You think you're safe? Wait until the night you least expect it." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding, but I didn't delete the message. I saved it just like the others. They thought fear would silence me. They were wrong. The next day, Thomas came to the cabin. He looked exhausted, his eyes bloodshot. "Mom, you need to stop this," he pleaded. "Monica is losing it. She's saying scary things. Just give us the house back. We can fix this." I looked at my son, the boy I once rocked to sleep, and felt both love and sorrow. "Thomas, you made your choice when you laughed at me on Christmas morning. I warned you, don't take my kindness for weakness. You let her poison everything, and now you want me to pay for it?"
"No."
"Not this time." He clenched his fists, tears in his eyes, but he said nothing. He turned and left, shoulders slumped like a man carrying the weight of his mistakes. As the door closed, I thought about Lily's trembling voice, Monica's threats, and the fire. This battle was no longer about a house. It was about survival. I locked the door, turned off the lights, and waited, because something told me the next attack wouldn't just be a warning. Do you think Monica will make her move? Will Lily be caught in the crossfire? Comment your thoughts, like this story, and subscribe. The storm rolled in that night, the kind where the wind howls like an angry spirit and the trees sway like they're warning you to stay inside. I sat in my chair by the window, wrapped in a blanket, eyes fixed on the driveway. Every shadow looked suspicious. Every gust of wind felt like a warning. Hours passed. Then, just as the clock struck midnight, headlights appeared in the distance. They turned into my drive, moving slowly, too slowly. My heart raced. I grabbed the iron poker from the fireplace and stood near the door, breathing quietly. The car stopped. The engine cut off. For a moment, silence. Then a figure stepped out, tall, hooded, moving with purpose. My grip on the poker tightened. The figure approached the cabin, each step crunching the gravel louder than the last. When they reached the porch, I shouted, "Who's there?" My voice was strong, louder than I felt. No answer. I raised the poker, ready to swing if they forced their way in. But then, a small voice cracked through the night. "Grandma?" I froze. It was Lily. I flung the door open, and there she was, shivering, clutching a small backpack, tears streaking her cheeks. She ran into my arms, sobbing. "Mommy's crazy, Grandma." She was screaming and throwing things. Daddy was yelling too. I was scared, so I ran. My heart broke and burned at the same time. I knelt down, cupping her tiny face. "You're safe now, baby. You're safe with me." But before I could close the door, another car screeched up behind hers. Monica jumped out, her face twisted with rage. "Give me my daughter, you witch," she screamed, charging up the steps. I pulled Lily behind me, my voice sharp as a knife. "She's not safe with you. Look at yourself, Monica. Look at what you've become." She lunged, but I slammed the door shut and locked it. She pounded on it with her fists, shouting curses that made Lily cry harder. Then she screamed, "You'll regret this, old woman. You'll lose everything," and stormed back to her car. The tires spun in the gravel as she sped away into the night. I held Lily close, my heart pounding. The sheriff would be here soon. I had already dialed while holding her. When the police arrived, they took statements and promised to patrol the area. Lily stayed wrapped in my blanket, clinging to me like I was her only safe place in the world. And maybe I was. Later, after the officers left, I tucked her into bed and kissed her forehead. She whispered, "Don't let them take me back." I looked her in the eye and said, "I won't. I promise." The next morning, I called Mr. Harris and explained everything. He moved quickly, filing for emergency custody of Lily until Monica's mental state could be evaluated. He also filed charges for the threats, the arson, and the financial crimes. That evening, Thomas showed up. His eyes were red, his hands shaking. "Mom, please, give her back to us." I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "Thomas, you've lost control. You let Monica bring chaos into this family. I won't let Lily grow up in that madness. You need to fix yourself first." For the first time, he didn't argue. He just hung his head and walked away slowly, like a man who knew he'd lost more than he could bear. Inside, Lily slept peacefully, unaware of the storm raging outside. I sat by the fire, watching the flames dance, thinking about the battle still ahead. Because Monica wasn't done. I could feel it in my bones. She was planning something bigger, something darker. And this time, I wasn't just protecting a house. I was protecting my granddaughter. The morning after Lily arrived, peace filled the cabin, at least for a few precious hours. She sat at my small wooden table eating pancakes I made from scratch, giggling every time the syrup dripped down her chin. For a moment, it felt like the Christmas I had always wanted. Warm, full of love, safe. But peace never lasts when someone like Monica is involved. Around noon, I received a call from Richard. His voice was sharp. "Margaret, listen to me carefully. Monica's not just angry, she's desperate. My contact at the sheriff's office says she's been asking dangerous people for help. Real criminals. She wants to scare you into giving Lily back, or worse." My stomach twisted. So she's escalating again. "Exactly. Keep your doors locked. Keep that child close. I'm sending a man to stay near the cabin, someone who can watch the place when I'm not there." I thanked him, though my heart pounded like a drum. That night, I double-checked every lock, drew the curtains, and kept Lily in my sight. Around 3 a.m., I woke to the faint sound of footsteps outside. My heart skipped. Slowly, I crept to the window, peeking out through the smallest gap in the curtain. Under the dim moonlight, I saw a figure near my car, slim, hood pulled up, moving quickly. Before I could react, the alarm Richard had installed blared. The figure froze, then bolted into the woods. I grabbed the phone and called the sheriff. By the time deputies arrived, whoever it was had vanished, but they found a crowbar dropped in the snow near the porch. Lily clung to me, crying, as I held her tightly. This wasn't just a scare tactic anymore. They were ready to break in. The next morning, Mr. Harris came to the cabin with good news. We've got the emergency custody hearing scheduled for tomorrow. With the evidence we have against Monica, you have a strong case. Keep Lily close, Margaret. One more slip from Monica, and she's finished legally. But Monica wasn't waiting for court. That evening, I got another call, this time from an unknown number. When I answered, there was only Monica's voice, low and venomous. You think a judge will save you? You think paperwork means anything to me? You're an old woman playing games with a fire you can't control. Then she laughed, a cold, unsettling sound, and hung up. The next day, I dressed Lily in her warmest coat and took her to court. Thomas was there, pale and torn apart, while Monica stormed in looking wild-eyed, hair disheveled, muttering under her breath. The judge listened carefully as my lawyer presented evidence. The threats, the financial fraud, the attempted break-in, the police reports. When it was Monica's turn to speak, she lashed out at everyone, screaming at the judge, calling me names, even accusing me of kidnapping Lily. Her outburst only sealed her fate. The judge slammed his gavel, declaring that Lily would remain in my custody until Monica underwent a full psychological evaluation. Thomas looked at me with tearful eyes, whispering, "Mom, I'm sorry." For the first time in years, I believed he meant it. Outside the courthouse, Monica was dragged away by deputies after trying to lunge at me. She screamed promises of revenge, her voice echoing across the parking lot. Lily buried her face in my shoulder, shaking. We returned to the cabin, where I tucked her into bed and sat by the fire, exhausted. I thought the storm had passed, but deep down I knew Monica wasn't the type to give up. Late that night, as the wind rattled the windows, I heard a loud crash outside. My heart leaped. I grabbed the iron poker again, my hands trembling, and slowly opened the door. There, in the snow, was a brick. Attached to it was a note in smeared black ink. "If I can't have her, no one will." I stood frozen, the note shaking in my hand, the firelight flickering behind me. Because this wasn't a threat anymore. It was a promise. The brick lay heavy in my hand, but its weight was nothing compared to the dread pressing on my chest. I ripped the note off, staring at the jagged letters again. "If I can't have her, and no one will." I looked over my shoulder at Lily, who slept peacefully on the couch wrapped in a blanket. My heart clenched. She was innocent in all this, and yet Monica had dragged her into a nightmare. I called Richard immediately. My voice shook as I explained what happened. "This isn't just a threat anymore, Richard. She's serious." He didn't hesitate. "Margaret, listen to me. Pack a bag, take Lily, and go to the safe location we prepared. I'll send someone to watch the cabin, but you can't stay there tonight." Within minutes, I grabbed Lily's things, bundled her up, and carried her to the car. She woke up halfway to the safe house, whispering, "Grandma, where are we going?" "To somewhere safe, baby," I said softly, forcing a smile even though my hands trembled on the steering wheel. The safe house was a small, secure property owned by Richard's friend, far enough from town that nobody would find it easily. We stayed there for 2 nights, and for a brief moment, I thought maybe Monica had finally given up. But Monica wasn't the type to give up. On the 3rd night, as I was putting Lily to bed, the security lights outside flickered. My heart froze. I peeked through the curtains and saw movement, shadows slipping through the trees. I grabbed my phone and dialed Richard, whispering, "They found us." Before he could answer, a loud crash echoed through the night. The back window shattered, and I heard footsteps pounding across the porch. I locked the bedroom door, pulled Lily close, and prayed the barricade would hold. The intruder tried the door, banging violently. Lily clung to me, crying, "Grandma, I'm scared." "I've got you, baby," I whispered, tightening my grip on her. "No one will hurt you while I'm here." Suddenly, the banging stopped. Silence. Then, a voice on the other side. Monica's voice, dripping with madness. "Open the door, Margaret. Give me my daughter, and I'll let you live." I swallowed hard, heart racing. "You're sick, Monica. You need help, not her," she screamed, a sound so guttural it sent chills down my spine. The door shook as she threw herself against it. I braced my weight against the wood, praying it wouldn't break. Then, sirens in the distance. Flashing blue and red lights cut through the night. Monica cursed, pounding one last time before fleeing out the back. I heard her car screech away just as deputies burst in through the front. They searched the area but couldn't find her. The sheriff looked at me, his face grim. "Mrs. Turner, we'll catch her. But she's desperate. Stay under protection until this is over." For the next week, officers watched over us day and night. Monica was now officially a fugitive, wanted not just for threats but for attempted kidnapping and breaking into a secured property. Thomas came to see me during that time, his face lined with guilt. "Mom, I didn't know it would get this bad. I thought she just needed time to cool off, but she's gone too far." I looked at him, my voice firm. "Thomas, you need to decide what matters more, protecting your pride or protecting your daughter. Because Monica won't stop until she destroys everything." He nodded, tears in his eyes, and whispered, "I'll testify against her. Whatever it takes to keep Lily safe." Days later, the sheriff called. They had traced Monica's car to an abandoned warehouse outside town. When they went in, she was gone, but they found a wall covered with photos of Lily, me, and the cabin. Notes scribbled everywhere. "Take her back. Burn it all. No one wins but me." The evidence was enough to put out a full warrant for her arrest. But they still couldn't find her. That night, as I sat holding Lily close, I realized something chilling. Monica wasn't hiding because she was scared. She was hiding because she was planning something bigger. And the next time she showed up, she wouldn't come alone. Backhand index pointing right, will Monica finally strike with full force? Or will Margaret turn the tables once and for all? Comment your predictions. For a week, there was nothing but silence. No phone calls, no notes, no sightings of Monica. But silence is never peace. It's the storm gathering before it breaks. I stayed in the safe house with Lily, never letting her out of my sight. At night, I slept with one ear open, my hand resting on the old iron poker by my bed. The deputies still patrolled, but even they admitted Monica was cunning. Then, late one rainy evening, the power cut out. The house went pitch black. My heart pounded. Lily stirred in her sleep, and I whispered, "Shh, it's okay, baby." But deep down, I knew it wasn't. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number lit the screen. "No lights. No cops. No more games. Come outside." My blood ran cold. I peeked out the window. Nothing but rain and shadows. I grabbed my phone and called the sheriff, whispering, "She's here." They promised to send a unit immediately. But before help could arrive, I heard the sound of glass shattering at the back of the house. Someone was inside. I grabbed Lily and locked us in the bedroom. She clung to me, whispering, "Grandma, I'm scared," over and over. I stroked her hair, whispering back, "I've got you. I won't let anything happen to you." The floor creaked. Heavy footsteps. Monica's voice came through the door, dripping with venom. "You think you can keep her from me? You think you're the hero here, Margaret? You're nothing but an old thief who stole my life." I tightened my grip on the poker. "You're sick, Monica. You need help. Walk away before you ruin your life completely." Her laugh was cold and sharp. Too late for that. The door shook violently as she tried to break through. Then headlights cut through the window blinds, followed by the blare of sirens. Police were here. Monica screamed in frustration, kicking the door one last time before running. I heard the crash of her footsteps and the slam of a back door. I burst out of the room just as deputies swarmed the house. They chased her into the woods, flashlights cutting through the rain. Minutes felt like hours until a voice crackled over the radio. "Suspect in custody." I collapsed into a chair, clutching Lily, tears of relief streaming down my face. But the nightmare wasn't over. Monica fought the deputies with wild strength, screaming threats even as they cuffed her. "You'll pay for this, Margaret. You'll lose everything." Her voice echoed until the car doors slammed and they drove her away. The sheriff turned to me. "She's not getting out this time, Mrs. Turner. She'll face charges for everything." For the first time in weeks, I exhaled. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could finally rest. But later that night, as Lily slept and the house was quiet, my phone buzzed again. A text. It wasn't from Monica. It was from an unknown number with only 2 words. "Not over." I stared at the screen, chills creeping up my spine. If Monica was behind bars who sent this, someone else was involved. Someone who had been watching all along. And now, the real danger was only beginning. The next morning, the sky was gray, heavy with rain, as if it knew the storm in my heart. Monica was behind bars, but the message on my phone haunted me. "Not over." I showed it to the sheriff. He frowned, his jaw tight. "This isn't from her. Jail logs confirm she had no access to a phone. Someone else is helping her. Maybe even someone closer than you think." The words chilled me. I thought of Thomas. Could he have sent it? He had apologized, but guilt and love for Monica might still pull him to the dark side. I didn't want to believe it, but doubt gnawed at me. That evening, Thomas came to the safe house. His eyes were red, his clothes rumpled. He looked like a man who hadn't slept. "Mom, I know she's gone too far. I'm sorry for everything, but I need you to trust me. I didn't send that message." "Then who did?" I asked, my voice sharp. He hesitated, then whispered, "Her brother. You didn't know she had one, did you? His name is Eric. He's dangerous. She's been in contact with him all along." My blood ran cold. "Where is he now?" "I don't know," Thomas said, shaking his head. "But if he sent that message, he won't stop until he gets to you." That night, I barely slept. I sat by the window with the poker in my lap, watching the rain beat against the glass. Every shadow seemed alive. Every creak made my heart jump. Lily slept peacefully, unaware of the danger creeping closer. Just after midnight, I heard it, a car engine humming outside. I peered through the curtains. A black SUV sat in the driveway, headlights off. My breath caught. I called the sheriff immediately, whispering, "They're here." Before he could respond, the front door rattled violently. A man's voice growled, "Open up, old woman. You have something that doesn't belong to you."
"Eric."
I pushed a dresser against the door and ran to grab Lily. She clung to me, wide-eyed and trembling. "Grandma, what's happening?" "Stay quiet, baby," I whispered, holding her close. "I won't let them take you." The door shook harder. Then glass shattered as Eric smashed through a window. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with wild eyes that burned with rage. "Give me my niece," he snarled, stepping into the house. I stood my ground, poker raised. "You'll have to go through me first." He lunged, but at that exact moment, the wail of sirens filled the air. Flashing lights surrounded the house. Deputies stormed in, tackling Eric before he could reach us. Lily screamed, clinging to my neck as officers wrestled him to the ground and cuffed him. The sheriff looked at me, breathing hard. "He's done. You're safe now." For the first time in months, I felt the weight lift off my shoulders. The threats, the fear, the sleepless nights, they were over. Days later, the court granted me full custody of Lily. Monica and Eric were sentenced for their crimes, and Thomas, broken but repentant, began therapy to rebuild his life. I allowed him to see Lily under supervision because despite everything, he was still her father. One sunny afternoon, as Lily and I sat on the porch of the cabin, she looked up at me with a smile. "Grandma, you're my hero." Tears filled my eyes as I hugged her close.
"No, sweetheart."
"You're my reason." From that day forward, I knew we would be okay. The battles were over, and we had won, not just the house, not just our safety, but our freedom. And as for me, I learned that sometimes you have to lose everything, your peace, your comfort, even the love of those you raised, to find the strength you never knew you had. because no one should ever underestimate the quiet power of a grandmother. Backhand index pointing right if this story touched your heart and reminded you that strength has no age. Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that prove love always wins.